Sticky keys. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for committing your time first thing this morning. The best thing about a two-day session like this is I can use yesterday's jokes because they went down so well. Now, fair income, there was at least 3 people laughed, and I only got 1 court case. Before we start, I'm pretty sure that the traditional owners and custodians, the Wongal people, would be very pleased that we're holding this event here. I'm sure their leaders, past, present and emerging, would be cheering for you and the impact that you, the current and future EV owners, will be making and preserving and repairing the environment. So well done. Speaking of which, instead of gluing yourself to Pitt Street, buy an EV. Instead of being a keyboard warrior on Facebook, buy an e-bike. And instead of complaining to your local coal baron, your elected member, get the e-bus, the e-train, or heaven forbid, the new mobility idea. Are you ready for it? The e-walk. No, I'm just kidding. My name's John, and of course there's no housekeeping today because the toilets are just there, and I'm sure your mobile phones are on vibrate and silent, just as a courtesy of the speakers. Today's going to be a phenomenal day. It's all about the test drives, the test scoots, the test rides, the test fly. Certainly next year we're working on the plane, the E-plane. Go over to the test drives after the air and book in a time. Everyone came out yesterday with the EV grin. Today's coordinated by the Australian Association for Electric Vehicles, which we're all proud members of, and they're holding their general meeting at the moment, but their goal is to dispel myths and accelerate the transition in Australia to EV, which clearly seems to be lacking at the big end of town, although Blacktown Council spoke yesterday, and if you heard them speak, you would think we should have these people running New South Wales. They were very, very encouraging. We'll do 16 minutes or so, and then we'll do 4 minutes, 5 minutes, and we don't stop the questions. While you've still got questions, we keep going, even if we wind up an hour late at the end of the day. Today is the day, by the way, to ask questions if you're new to the industry. If you can't find an expert, come and see me, or the AEVA tent is just over there as well, and we'll find the right expert for you. Today's also a great day to join as a member. There's a lot of terminology and things that you'll hear and you think, what's all that about? It's very economical to join as a member. You get newsletters, magazines, fact sheets, data sheets, which is just fantastic. It's a great move. And like Tesla shares versus Ford, last year we doubled our membership in Australia. So it's obviously the association's doing some things very, very well. Our first speaker, ladies and gentlemen, is the proud National Manager of Electrification and Mobility at Nissan Motor Corporation. Without Nissan, today and yesterday would not have happened, so thank goodness for Nissan. Ben's been with Nissan for 8 years, even though they started in 1911 and they have 139,810 employees. Ben is their finest representative. Today, Ben will be speaking on the most exciting and in-demand EV in the country and the work that Nissan is doing. Please, a rousing hand for our platinum sponsor, Ben Warren.
And we're away. Thank you very much. Thanks for taking the time to come out this morning. I know it's early, but who wouldn't want to be out looking at and talking about electric vehicles? Because I'm biased and paid to say it, but they're brilliant. Before we kick off, who's an owner of an EV? Yeah. Who's driven one before? And who's ready to experience it today? Yeah. Brilliant. So it is happening, right? Electric vehicles are happening. Just today is the testament to what's happening. There's more vehicles out there. The world is changing very quickly, and it's an exciting time to be in this space. What I want to look at is we talk about EVs as being cars, right? Cars have been around for a long time, but really, electric vehicles open up more opportunity. They go more than just being a great mobility solution. And so looking at it today, why Nissan EVs are more than just an exciting mobility solution. First, we've got to go all the way back and look at why EVs are an exciting mobility solution, because I think if we agree on that first and foremost, we can step forward. First, brilliant to drive. Yeah? So you'll experience that today. EVs, the driving experience of an electric vehicle is one of the great moments in life. The first time you drive one, instant torque, instant acceleration, they're smooth, they're quiet. This is for any electric vehicle. They are absolutely brilliant. The first time you ever drive an EV is one of those special moments in life that if you could go back and do again, you would. The only probably parallel to that is maybe watching The Sixth Sense for the first time, because the twist at the end is epic. But yeah, brilliant to drive, excellent to drive. No petrol means no petrol station. So who gets real pumped up about life when they get in their car and the fuel light comes on? Does anyone get real excited by that? Like that's, drive out of your way, you have to stand there like a fuel chaperone and hold the nozzle and watch it happen. So you don't have to go there anymore. So an electric vehicle, one of the great myths of the auto industry is that a car sits around for 90 to 95% of the time. So we sell you a car to park it, effectively. So don't rush out and tell all your friends that, because we obviously still want to sell cars. But it's super convenient because now you can use that time to charge it, the time that's sitting around. So you get home, you plug it in and walk away, and it does it itself. You can even set timers in the vehicle to control when you want that charge to happen. I don't want it to kick in till after 11 o'clock if you have an off-peak power rate, for example. You can do all of that in it. You don't have to stand there and watch it. So they are super convenient. Fun to drive, really convenient. And so why they go beyond just a mobility solution is really ties back to that fuel thing. So when we look at the traditional energy model, right, we've got these big power stations that are producing power, and it's mainly fossil fueled, and there's generators around the network to help provide flexibility, and that power is centralized and gets sent to a customer. And the customer just is predictable but inflexible in what they can do. And so we have this one-way distribution, and then we go to the new energy model. And we start to do things, which is what we've been doing the last few years. We start to put solar panels on roofs. 1 in 5 homes have solar panels on the roof. We start to build wind farms. We start to make large-scale solar farms. And all of a sudden, we have a generation model that's decentralised, and it's actually intermittent in how it can generate its power, because it depends on what the sun and the wind are doing. And then we have a customer who's actually self-producing and trading power. So it's bi-directional flow of energy around the network, which is really quite interesting. And then we go and plug in a bunch of EVs. And we increase the local demand. Because, yes, they use power, and that does increase the demand on the grid. So one of the things that people are concerned about is, do we have enough power to go around? So now what we need is flexibility from the demand side to go with the variability in the generation model, but also then storage. So if you've got solar panels on the roof, unless you want to only use power when the sun is shining, you need somewhere to put it. And that's where storage or stationary batteries start to come in. Also, power versus fuel. In Melbourne, it's done it again recently, but in one day, the price at the Bowser went, in about 3 hours, went from $1.34 to $1.72 across 3 hours. So I did the math. And based on an average 50 litre small vehicle, I realise my math is wrong here because there's a typo, it's not 34 cents. But it increased, 38 cents, or 28%. So on a 50 litre tank, that same amount of fuel costs you $19 more 3 hours later. How many electric Ks can you get from $19? If you just charged on normal tariff, it's about 425 Ks. Off-peak, about 800 Ks. Obviously, if you've got solar, unlimited, because it's free. So you're no longer subjected to, or you can actually control the energy flow and control your fuel source, is one of the great things about this, which makes it more than just an exciting car. But what's different about Nissan? Because all of these are quite generic to every EV. So like all electric vehicles, the Nissan Leaf needs to be charged, but it can also export the power back into the house, and you can use the power of the vehicle to power your home. You can pair it with your solar panels and capture the power of the sun during the day, and then use that power later on at night when the sun's not up. So effectively what we've built is the world's sexiest battery. And so, to put it into context, it's a 40 kilowatt hour battery in the Leaf. It'll power an average family home for about 2.5 days. So, here's some examples around the world, because this is in place in Japan. There's 7,000 homes in Japan using this as part of the government's net zero home emission program. There's trials in Europe as well, in the UK and in Norway. Fleets of Leaf being put together to power entire buildings. And this has come from, in Japan, power security has been really the thing. I don't know if you realise, but in the last month, Japan's been hit by 2 cyclones that have been the worst in 50 years. And both times it's knocked out power to about 400,000 homes. And some of those homes power up to 10 days later. So we were taking vehicles around to help power the community centres and provide power so people can charge their phones and get in contact with their family and doing all those things. So you've got this power source you can take anywhere. Here's a festival in Japan, a little summer festival. You've got the stage and the band playing and the stall holders and all the lights on, and it's hard to see, but there's 2 Nissan Leaf powering the whole thing. So you've got this mobile power source you can take anywhere, which is really quite cool. Now, this technology, as I said, it's happening around the world. It's live in Japan. It's happening in Europe. It will come to Australia. The vehicle that we sell today is capable of it. So the vehicle is ready for that next evolution. We're working with our charging partners. So we've got the team from Jet Charge out here and ChargeFox, who we partner with. And we're working to bring the hardware into the country. There's a bit of certification and testing that needs to happen, but we're expecting to have some prototype units hopefully in the next 30 days or so to start that process. So in the best case scenario, the dream scenario, is by this time next year there are customers out there using this technology in the Australian market, which is really quite cool. Also, parts in the Nissan Leaf are locally manufactured here in Australia. So automotive manufacturing is not completely dead. We have a casting plant in Dandenong South in Victoria that's been there since 1982. Every Nissan Leaf sold around the world has the kangaroo stamp in the engine bay. We've got the parts on display at the stand over there, so come and have a look. But about 45% of what they make in that factory is for electric vehicles sold around the world. They've been working on electric vehicle program there, the engineering team, since 1999. The first Leaf came out in 2010. So this has been an ongoing business for Australia, and they've got contracts out for the next 5 years at least. So they're working on the next evolution of product coming through, which is really quite cool. Really, at the end of the day, you know, we look at Nissan, our philosophy really as part of our Nissan Intelligent Mobility framework is 3 pillars: intelligent power, intelligent driving and intelligent integration. And what that's about is about being more excited by the drive of electric powertrains, being more confident in the driving with all of the active safety technologies and things in the vehicle, but more importantly, being more integrated and connected into the wider ecosystem. It's not just about pairing your Bluetooth to the car, it's actually how your car can be integrated into the wider ecosystem, and vehicle to grid or vehicle to home bidirectional charging is the classic example of that integration. And really with electric vehicles and what we're all pushing towards is really trying to change the way that we drive and change the way that we live to a better and more renewable society. So with that, I say thank you for attending. Please come and see us, come and do the test drives, and invite any questions if there are any. Well, do you want to run a mic around so you can all hear the question?
Just running back from his iPod. You want to use this one, Emmanuel, or the other one?
Yeah, we can do that.
This one?
Yep.
Who's first? Young man, a genuine question. That's the question.
Okay. Oh, okay. So sorry. I'm Taufik. I'm asking about like the economics for the EVs. So and the suitability, because I think there are some that say, oh, maybe it should an e-bike, maybe it should be a cargo e-bike, and then there are some that are small micro cars, and then there's, oh, we need a private car, and then there's buses that are electric or even electric trains. And I see that many car manufacturers are kind of thinking that what is the kind of market that they should get into, and how does Nissan think about it? So which is their focus, and do they need like diversification, or how do they fit into these like markets from the e-bike to the like maybe not trains but maybe buses, because I think it's also there are many governments that are pushing for public transport and they want electric buses to so the demand is up for electric buses.
I think transport in general. So when we look at what governments around the world and different places are doing, the end game is to reduce emissions. So whether that's and that's across all modes of mobility. So everybody who plays in those respective areas. So for us, we focus on vehicles. There's a definite role for e-bikes, e-scooters, and then of course on the other side of it being buses and everything. So anything that reduces emission, because I don't know about you, but I reckon oxygen rocks. Fresh air is good. So anything we can do to bring that down. For Nissan, we're focused on vehicles because that's what we do. We are working to bring more product out. So Leaf is the #1 selling electric vehicle of all time. It's been on the market since 2010. So we jumped in as a mass market brand. We jumped in really early and have been pushing ever since. If you watched the Tokyo Motor Show a couple of nights ago, you will have seen us unveil 2 new fully electric products. So a small car for Japan and an SUV, twin motor SUV that's going to be absolutely brilliant. So we will see more electrification across the coming years. Every brand's doing the same thing. Hydrogen fuel cells, another example of zero emission mobility. And then different hybrid powertrains and things. So we're focused on the vehicles, but certainly the bus manufacturers are looking at it, the truck manufacturers are looking at it. So everyone in their respective spaces know they need to do it. And it's because some markets are really pushing hard. Norway 2025, ban on internal combustion engines. China 2030, UK 2035, Germany and France I think is 2040.
Costa Rica 2021. Mind you, I don't think they've got any cars left. Great answer, Ben. Hold on a second, we've got one here for the young man.
Hi, thanks for your talk. It would seem to me, just from my perspective, that one of the biggest barriers to selling these cars is the cost. They seem to be hovering around 50,000 at the moment. And to some extent that reflects a trend to put bells and whistles on the car. I'm interested in the future of lower cost electric vehicles that are open to the general car buyer who doesn't want all the extras. He wants an electric car that will do the job for him. Can you tell us about the prospects of this and when that's going to happen, if it hasn't already happened? Thank you.
Yeah, so part of when we look at the analysis, and this is not Nissan numbers, these are the Morgan Stanleys of the world doing the analysis on when we will see price parity between electric vehicles and internal combustion cars. The general consensus, depending on which analysis you look at, it's somewhere between 2024 and 2028. The cost of batteries will keep coming down. The cost of internal combustion engines, be it petrol or diesel, will keep coming up based on stricter and stricter emission regulations. And therefore, some point in the middle of the next decade, we will hit price parity. Now, what does that actually mean? Does that mean we will see an electric vehicle for $19,990? Probably not. But what we'll actually see is one of two things: a slightly cheaper version of an electric vehicle at the same range, or a similar priced car but with a bigger battery and a bigger range. So there's different strategies for different autos on how that can work. Your comment on the vehicles all being fully loaded and lots of bells and whistles, that's primarily due to the fact that the biggest bottleneck is battery production. So at the moment every company around the world is effectively selling what they can make, and therefore you always start with the highest specification and try and provide the best overall package. And then over time you'll naturally see a base grade and some cheaper product come through. It's just part of that evolution. Always at the start more of the premium-based product.
Hang on a sec, sir. Hang on a sec, because everyone is interested in this one.
I'm just wondering when we can see some sort of a price drop, even if it's 5 or 10. People might be able to pay a bit more for an electric vehicle. It's worth it. But when is it going to be something that will be addressed in the near future? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, that comes with that that manufacturing cost base. So again, as I said, the cost of batteries keeps coming down. So the next generation vehicle, you'll end up seeing, similar range but cheaper to build. And again, that comes around that middle of the 2020s is when we expect to recognise that. Again, it's all subject to capacities of being able to manufacture batteries. As I said, that's the bottleneck. So
that's a great point, that the people over there from the lithium mine that's going to open up in Darwin, if you want to really get a cheaper car, own the mine, right? Model T Fords, when they first they made shiploads of them. There are none left. When they first made Rolls Royces, they made them one at a time. They were just as expensive and they're all still on the road. So Nissan's not going to launch something, and I can't speak for them, that's going to just turn out to be a piece of junk, because you've got to protect your brand. So yeah, it's expensive, but then there's the value. And there's a man from Tesla who does the ROI, and I'm sure it'll be even better for a Leaf, that it's not about saving the planet, it's about saving your money. And there's just, the payback period must be dramatic, Ben. I'm sure you've got the numbers.
Again, and we talk about obviously saving money on fuel and the running costs of a car. When we actually be able to recognise the benefit of vehicle to grid as well, you've got this opportunity where you're not only saving on your fuel bill at one end, but you can potentially save your energy bill at the other end as well. So you end up pairing the two together. Yes, it's a bigger upfront cost, but that's just the reality of the manufacturing base today. And that will evolve over time. So,
and that's before the government provides incentives, right? Because in Norway, you don't pay tolls, you don't pay parking. Remember our registration system is based on cylinders. You reckon the government's nervous about your no-cylinder registration fees? Now, this is, and last year and the year before, is some of the smartest people in Australia are always in the room, right? So I just asked genuine questions. It's nice to make a political statement like I do. It's nice to make a nice comment about Nissan like Ben will, but genuine questions, please, just so that we don't turn the room off. Young man?
Is Nissan considering bringing in the E Plus Leaf?
Yeah, so it's something we're not officially on the program for that car yet. It's just come out not that long ago in Europe and the US, and so we want it. We're lobbying for it. At the moment, they're basically, as I said before, the battery manufacturing is the bottleneck, so they're kind of selling everything they can build in Europe and US. When will it come to Australia? I'm confident we will get it, and I'm thinking it's probably won't be quite 18 months, but yeah, it's at least a year or so away.
Also, in Europe, they have a van.
So Europe, the van?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, in Europe they do that. I think was it EV?
ENV200.
Yeah, 200. They also considering that for right-hand drive markets like Australia.
Yeah, so they do make it in the UK and sell it in UK and Ireland. So it does come already with the steering wheel on the correct side for us. We're looking to do some trials and tests on that vehicle for here to just validate whether there's a market, because the van market's a tricky one. But it's we did the business case a couple of years ago and it didn't quite work out. But given that the market's moved a long way, we're about to go through that process again to try and build a business case, whether it's the current van they sell today or the next van that will come out in the next product cycle that we can try and get on the market, because we want the Nissan between fully electric and the e-Power series hybrid that we sell in Japan. We're looking to bring more product into Australia with those powertrains, and by 2022 we want to have 1/3 of our sales base electrified in Australia. So it's part of our plan to try and boost that up.
And with the current Leaf, what's the wait time if you order one tomorrow?
If you order one tomorrow, depending on the colour you pick, I almost think we could deliver it before Christmas, if not in the new year. Very early in the new year.
And we'll happily take a deposit.
Correct.
Next.
No show specials though.
Sanath from the Central Queensland University. Now, Nissan has the hybrid range also. Probably you just touched upon that. Now, and then you have your EV range. So what is your market or the target customer base for the hybrid range while you bring in EV
So hybrid powertrain is something that to date we've only sold in Japan. So the e-Power. So what the e-Power range is an electric motor mated to the wheels, a smaller battery pack, and then a petrol engine that's not connected to the wheels. Its sole purpose is to charge the battery. So it drives like an electric car, but you don't have to plug it in. And it has obviously a longer range. It's just over 800 kilometres in one of the vehicles they sell in Japan. So they make it as a small car and a van. We don't take either of those two products in Australia yet. We want to bring electrification in. So what we would logically see is like products we know today. Nissan products we see today, like a Qashqai or an X-Trail. They might have a petrol and a diesel derivative today. In the future, we see it being maybe a petrol and an e-Power derivative, and then that provides the option of reducing obviously emissions, but driving like an EV. So that's and it is a different target customer because some people drive Ks that an EV just doesn't work for them today, and it's a nice stepping stone in.
Last question, sir.
Can I have a solar panel on the roof on a car?
So the first generation had a little solar panel in the back of the spoiler, which charged the 12-volt battery. The challenge with solar panels in the roof is a couple of things. I saw an example at the All Energy Expo earlier in the week where they'd actually crafted a solar panel that was really thin to fit on the roof of the vehicle. The challenge has always been with solar is getting the size and the weight of the panels and the rigidity or the structural rigidity of the panel in the event of a rollover or something like that, because it effectively becomes the roof of your car. So up to now, it hasn't really been there and cost effective to do it. Will that change moving forward? Potentially. Where I think about the benefit of a solar panel in the roof is obviously while the vehicle is in the sun, you can charge it. You don't get the efficiency rate of a single panel on the roof of a car is not necessarily the best at the moment. And that's also assuming that the car sits around in the sun when it's parked. Whereas in a lot of cases, it's parked in a parking tower or in your garage or something like that. So why not plug it into a charging station while it's stationary and get the power from the solar panels on the roof of the building? So there's a couple of key points there. You don't quite get enough charge when you're driving down the freeway to keep the thing going yet. So there's a cost and an efficiency argument there that kind of doesn't work. And when it's embedded into the roof of the vehicle, there's some structural problems around in a rollover and some of those things, hailstones. Yeah. So it's not there today, but they are playing with it and testing with it in the development centres with the view of it could become a reality. But what we see today is the cars sit around stationary and they're not usually in the sun the whole time when they're sitting there and parked. So if they're parked, you can just plug in.
We had some great questions yesterday for Nissan, but unfortunately Ben has a display full of product which he's kind of obliged to sell. So ladies and gentlemen, can I just get a big hand for our platinum sponsor and their fine representative out of 139,000 staff?
That's it. Please come and see us at the stand. We're doing test drives. Any more questions, happy to take them. So thanks very much for coming down.
Thanks, Ben. And Ben could have been here all day just doing a presentation on Nissan, and the crowd would just keep asking questions like yesterday. It was fantastic. Thank you, Ben. Thank you for your support.